Hello and welcome to another episode of the DewatchPod. I am your Inspires board.
And I am Jim with a G. And we are returning to an old domicile of ours.
Yeah, our second home in a way.
Yeah.
Or in another way, our first home.
How?
Of science fiction.
I see.
I don't know. We're doing Star Trek Discovery, and we're starting with Season 5, Face the Strange.
That's right. I think I commented the words crash landing during this episode. Just because, like, man, when you haven't been immersed in Star Trek for a bit, it's a lot to, like, pick up. Especially when you're starting with the 5th season of a 5-season show.
Yeah. So, to start with, what do you say we recommend this episode?
Can I get like a mulligan? Can I get like a 50-50 on that one? It's fine.
Yeah, probably.
Coming in strong on the next season of Watch Star Trek.
Yeah, no, I don't think I would recommend it. It's just a bit too, referential, I guess.
Is it?
I think so.
What is it referencing?
Other episodes.
Really?
I assume.
Okay. I kind of thought it was just like, hey, these are historical marks, but, well, I suppose we can get to that.
Yeah. And, yeah, before, if you do choose to go ahead and watch it, or if you just need some gearing up before
Something to fill the
listening
void.
to this podcast, be content warned for murder,
Poison,
and some light gore.
specifically impalement, which will be the main thing I take away from this episode, is the phrase, Paul, you're impaled. Which I don't think I've ever heard impaled used as an adjective for a living person, you know? But yes, I think you're gonna have to take us in here, Jorgen, because again, I was like, I don't know what the fuck's going on here.
Yeah, so, I think it's only fair to start with a bit of meta framing.
Yeah.
Which is that, I sort of, like, went into this going, like, I think I've seen all the, like, later seasons of Discovery, and then finding out that I haven't.
Yeah.
Which was a bit unfortunate, because I had to work out what to watch. And I ended up, going for this one, which, based on, like, not very strong metrics, because let me tell you, the descriptions of these on Wikipedia, are a lot of, like, character does this. But, I went for this one, and, I had, like, a little bit of a glance yesterday to make sure we were, walking into something navigable, and I didn't quite realize, I hadn't looked quite deep enough. Because, to jump into the recap, we start by two bounty hunters who are, I believe, our season antagonists.
Yeah.
Going like, yeah, no, we're going to the ship for this season is Discovery, as is the name. We have to stay ahead of Discovery, and they murder a guy, and I'm like, all right, sure, we have like a little bit of our season set up, but this seems like it's going to be like sort of like a little bit of like a self-contained little chase, and in some ways it is, and in other ways it really isn't. The episode, like in its mechanics, is very straightforward. The bounty hunters place a time bug on Discovery through mechanisms which are entirely undisclosed and not important. Which sends Discovery loose in time, and our three I don't know if they're stuck in time or if they're unstuck in time.
I think the idea is like everyone else is being transported along and sort of like integrating into the new reality.
Everyone else is getting fucked with by the time dilation, and they have continuous memory.
Yeah, two of them, because they were like teleporting while the ship got hit by this, And the third, because do you want to take this one? You were
Oh
gonna.
no, I think I want to give
Well,
you the
well,
honors.
obviously the third one is because he has tardigrade DNA,
That's right.
which is the part of the episode where it's like, oh, I'm in a whole new fucking vibe of Star Trek, ain't I?
Yeah. No, not important for this one, fortunately. But that is one of the more core elements of Discovery, that there's tardigrade stuff
I'm
going on.
such a big fan of like sci-fi and fantasy that when they answer a question, the new answer just is like it's not just that it raises new questions, it's like it barely answers the first one.
But yeah, no, and they basically sort of flash back to a few different like more and less tense points of like the entire series.
Yeah.
Um
Some attacks, some battles, when it was being
yeah,
constructed, a lot of different things.
and sort of navigating this, they like each face like sort of minor obstacles while working out how to stop the time bug.
It's a big information gathering mission that they have to navigate.
Yeah.
And eventually they're like, okay, we found out the pattern of like when we switch to a new time, and eventually they find the spider, the little time bug itself. But here's the thing, they're gonna need to gather some stuff for it.
That's right.
Which leads to our protagonist Michael something, who is
I
a
think
lady.
Burnham.
Burnham, yeah, Michael Burnham, going to her own quarters to steal her own past self's TV
Hmm.
and discovering her ex.
I think so.
And her ex is like, hey babe, fresh out of the shower, just gonna flex a bit over here while I'm holding
Yeah,
you
no, I'm
gently.
like really hot and very affectionate. Um,
These are the best times of our relationship, and it will never go down from here, baby.
and yeah, no, it's uh, I think this is probably like the strongest thing they do with this, just
Yeah.
going like, yeah, no, wouldn't it be fucked up if you like had to navigate this encounter where like someone else is like, ah, yes, we're in a loving relationship, and you're like, yeah, I have to continue this charade, and I'm really feeling it. um,
And after that, we get hit by like, thank you for completing that stage of the quest. The next stage of the quest is that the little time bug, which is a literal mechanical bug, has a time shield. A
yeah,
shield that like
yeah,
dusts
so
ya.
we need to gain the trust of the crew to let us do some fucked up shit with the ship that will not have consequences unless we fail.
Yeah, there. I think I sighed around this point because, like, man, they are. I understand where they're going, but the mechanisms are a bit too obvious because they're like, no, no, it's fine. Like, yeah, the things we have to do will alter the timeline, except it only counts if it only locks into the real world when it resets the cycle. And I'm
That's
like,
right.
I I I am so far away as a person from CinemaSins, but I'm like this. You are laying the wires a bit too bare here.
And this, of course, it brings to the fore our sort of central conflict of the episode, because Burnham is with another person who is,
A
I
commander.
yeah, and I've forgotten his name, but he's like a fairly big character
He's
or something.
he's gruff. He is like the no nonsense. Like we gotta keep these people in line.
Yeah, and he's like, nah, this is like a special mission. We can't be familiar. We have to be on point and disciplined.
Yeah,
And she's like, nah, we need to be like emotionally in touch with each other, right? It's
yeah,
touchy-feely versus authoritarian. Um and like he has a fair point when
yeah,
he's like, uh, this is a very important mission, as is established at some point during the episode when they see the future, which uh is terrible because
apocalyptic.
they didn't fix the time bug. And uh yeah. uh the resolution to this is that Burnham is proven extremely right, because being touchy-feely enables her to just immediately persuade the crew with like within like 2 minutes that
Yeah,
like, nah, y'all gotta listen to me. I know that to you, I seem like someone attempting a mutiny, but trust me, bro, and I know you personally,
I've gathered
so
information from you into the future. You, Sarah, you have IBS. You, Jacobson, still not over your ex.
yeah,
Just like hitting him with one after another.
and uh yeah, no, she's like somewhat emotionally like in tune with all of them, and the big reveal is that like one of them who's going to die is like, oh yeah, no, I would sacrifice myself.
Which, like, I do think that's like one of those things. Like, I mean, like, maybe this fits with your character, but I'm also like, if someone shows up from the future and is like, you are gonna be so cool in the future, I'm like, wow, they really know me. I will be so cool in the
We
future.
should crash the ship for this person.
I am gonna be like, it is some real like fortune teller shit.
Um, and then the admiral has to do the same shit. First to like a security officer who doesn't matter, and then to young Burnham herself.
Yeah, which is information he's picked up in the last like 2 hours.
Yeah, well, 6 hours as it turns
That's
out, which
true.
is the amount of time that it's taken them to fix the whole thing in the end. And he's like, no, no, you're really cool, actually. Like, you have a heart of gold, and you're really scared right now, but you have a heart of gold. And I need you to understand both of those facts, and me understanding those facts makes me right. And she's like, fuck, I do have a heart of gold. It's like he knows me.
I am extroverted sometimes and introverted at other times. They
Well,
got me.
yeah, no, it's like imagine like you just try that shit and like you just get through the comms like, no, I was just like saying shit. That sounds cool. Like I was actually pretty happy to be on the bridge. And
I was gonna say, like, it's too serious to talk about, but, like, in the sense of, like, memory as something we kind of form constantly, in regards to, like,
yeah,
she in the moment was like, I fucking loved being on the bridge. I was prancing. I was imagining myself going, I'm the coolest captain ever.
and like in order to like set up that he has to do this, we somehow exclude Burnham from being the most eligible candidate, both by like being able to navigate even though she is on comms, and secondly because her first encounter with herself is like, all right, let's do a cool karate fight, which like huge props to like the
Oh,
choreography
yeah.
there. Like to do like good choreography where you have to like only use shot reverse shot angles because presumably that you must be using body doubles,
Yeah.
like huge props, like that's impressive, and like it looks good,
Yeah.
it's astonishing.
It's a little bit of a minor miracle, it must be said.
Yeah,
Also, like I will say to that point too, when we were watching that scene, he's like, Burnham, you gotta come down here. And he's like, I can't. Like it's 3 minutes. We'll have warped to a new time zone then. And that's what I just straight up thought in a moment. Okay, he's gonna hand the comms over because he's
nah,
holding the comms, and that's what like before it quite played out. I was like, but why would you have said that then? Like, why would you need to set that up? And then you get the actual thing, which is like, hey, we've had a conversation in the last couple of hours, and I'm gonna hit you back with that conversation.
yeah, no, very very convenient to receive that personal insight
Ch-
just in time.
Chat GPT ass persuasion, just like I'm remembering something you said 10 lines above this to prove that we have a real connection.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like it. To be clear, not a cinema's instinct,
No,
right?
no, no.
She is applying her method to him, and he's like, "Fuck, you've applied your method to me, and I can now judo it on past you." Which
It's
is the
fun.
argument working.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, and they fix everything, and it's fine. And there's a third guy who doesn't really do that much.
The engineer man.
Yeah,
Yeah. He gets like a little pep talk when he gets too grumpy and like anxious.
yeah.
And then he's kind of good.
Yeah, no, he's like, no, no, need you to understand. Um,
I am
I
very
am
stressed.
fully on board with her strategy, and you're being an asshole right now. That is his contribution. And
It's
yeah,
the second time someone gets like, "Hey, lighten up," and he goes, "Well, got two lighten ups. Fair enough. You got me." And that's the episode.
yeah.
Yep. That's fine. It feels very traditional Star Trek in that
Mm,
sense. Like I think this is to me in the exact same class of episode as Strange New Worlds, The Salot That Ate Its Own Tail. Like it's
really?
it's like here's a little adventure, and in that little adventure we're gonna learn a specific thing. Like it's very contained.
Yeah.
Um like I was positing this idea of like pitching this like this is a reverse bottle episode. They are in one spot all the time, but they are maximizing how much they need to do with that one spot in terms of
Yeah,
like
no, it's interesting in a way because like this is also, I'm going to like hazard a guess, probably the most lower decks this show ever gets,
that's fair, yeah.
because it's like, oh yeah, no, remember this point in time, remember that point in time, um, which is like sort of a lot of what lower decks does,
Yeah.
and they're like, yeah, no, that's our backdrop.
Yeah, like I don't know because I was like, are they gonna like? Is there an episode where they talk about like the building of the Discovery? I don't know.
Nah.
Like I don't know how much of this is actually going to be like featured on the rest of the show.
Only all the tense situations, but it's
Mm.
like all of them are like, they don't like this is a surprisingly watchable episode considering how
Yeah.
much like, oh yeah, no, we are in blank time, which is uh surely a like episode climax, you remember, or like a mid-season highlight. And like, let me be clear, I remember like one of them, kind of.
Because I was like, just one of them is like, oh,
Two of them, kind of.
okay, well there you go, Star Trek expert. But yeah, like the one of them is like, oh, yes, this was the date when we were invaded by the and you're like, I don't know what that means. They open a door. There's a couple of dudes in masks fighting, and I go, okay, I am now on board with what's happening. Like it doesn't it sets up its own context well
Yeah,
enough that I don't actually feel hurt by that. Like it's
no.
you know the thing it needs to convey is conveyed.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, no, like the actual message of this episode, like, does not get that much screen time, is the thing.
No, it's one of those things where they set it up so clearly early on. Like it's almost like a cutaway of like, hey, be nice, and he's like, I don't want to be nice.
Yeah.
And then like you kind of leave that for a long time until at the end you get the hey, lighten up again.
Hmm.
And it coming to fruition. It's a sort of like I've talked about this on the show before, like the sort of like very basic storytelling structure of like establish something, reinforce it, pay it off,
Yeah.
right? And I don't think we get the
We
reinforcement
get
here.
the reinforcement with the engineer, whose name is Stamets.
Yeah, but it feels so late.
Yeah.
Like you want to space. You actually, I think you generally want the establishment and the reinforcement to be closer to each other than the payoff, right?
Yeah,
That's
we
how you get
don't
Chekhov's gun.
we don't really spend that much time examining this concept.
Yeah, that's the main part, right? It's like I think that's the strange thing is that for so much of it they're effectively alone, right? Like they're
Yeah.
isolated from everything else.
And they have to be because of the time
The
paradoxes.
temporal prime directive.
Or something.
The amount of times the word temporal is in this episode is almost concerning.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think that's the fundamental issue here is that like you don't actually there's no part because I'm thinking if I'm designing this episode and I have that moral in mind, I feel like you set up a case where they're like we're under attack and none of the crew are communicating clearly and oh no someone died because they didn't get the warning and like something like that in the midst of all of this, right? Like just a bit of contrast and a bit of like maybe another time where like I don't know, they're doing a human chain to pull someone in from a wreck or whatever. Like this something else to actually emphasize that hey, this is what the episode is about.
It's remarkable that the time travel does not, in fact, have anything to do with the actual message.
Yeah, that's an odd one. I kept kind of thinking about that during this episode that like it feels muddled what it wants to do. At first I actually thought it felt quite efficient. Like I quite like when characters get to be competent. And I actually think for the first little bit as they're stuck, they're like, okay, what is actually happening here? Could it be this? No. Ruled out because of X factor. Like,
Yeah.
this. No, that doesn't make sense. So, logically, it has to be here or here. What could make sense out of that? Like, I actually really like that sort of storytelling.
Yeah.
Like, because it shows that they're competent, like, they are being flat footed, but, like, they are working it out.
Yeah, I think like what I'm sort of like struggling almost to remember is like what they actually spent the middle ground on, right?
I think it's mostly just moving around. Like, I'm being
Yeah,
very gentle. Like, they find the engineer, right? Like, that's one of their things. They're,
we have a cool fight scene between the
yeah.
Burnhams. We have
At the X scene.
we have the X scene, and that's all I remember.
We have the scene where like the engineer is working it out, and he says like, "There's a fungus who's gonna eat your brains. Get out of the
Yeah,
engineering core. I'm
we
safe
have
because
a
of my
very
tardigrade."
strong running gag where they get ever more simple about clearing out the engineering room.
Until they're just shouting, "Get out, go!" And they're like, "All right, sir,
I'm
I'm
having
out."
a bad day and I need everyone to leave.
It is it
Yeah,
is
no,
good.
it's just like strong comedy. Um, but yeah, no, like I think there is just like a lot of like moving around where the episode like it doesn't it doesn't lose steam in the sense that like the motion stops, but like it is sort of like spinning in place,
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
they're walking around a racetrack and being like, "Where are we going?" In a sense, right? Like I just do kind of.
Oh right, we also set up the stakes real big. Uh
Oh yeah,
where like, oh yeah, no,
in
if
the
you don't
past.
do this, the future will be shit.
Because like the first little bit is them like after their little brainstorming session where they honestly seem to figure like most of it out,
Mm,
they end up like gathering these little pieces of information that eventually puts together like
yeah.
the pattern of the jumps. Then they contact the engineer. Then they get the first bit of the quest, and then they have to do the second bit, basically
Mm,
where they discover the like temporal shield. And
yeah.
yeah, like I think the middle is just a little bit too much hanging. Like the thought I have to is that like if you're gonna make like a show or like an episode that's about like the relationships you form with your own crew,
Mm,
and you have a scene there about your ex,
yeah.
but that doesn't actually relate. It's like a momentary distraction of like, look how hot your ex is.
Yeah, I reckon like the actual thing that's going on is that like sort of the less like the X and the bad future are like scenes they like that are sort of allocated to like the season,
Mm,
and the rest is sort of like the individual episode
mm.
in terms of like what it actually serves.
It does feel like the sort of stuff you could cut out and put in a trailer, right? You're
Yeah.
like, here's the
Well,
apocalypse, and also here's a hot guy. Like
yeah, no, for sure, right? And it's like, yeah, we're spending a bit on the season arc, and then we go back to our thing. And yeah, no, like I'm just surprised like how much like seems to get like sort of get lost in the churn of it.
This episode is something like 50 minutes long, right? Like
Yeah.
50 plus minutes. I will say, by the time we were arriving at the end game, I was like, are we already here? Like, not in the sense that I felt like it swung by, but I was like, what did happen for the last like 20 to 30 minutes?
Yeah, it's a bit of a blur.
It is strange, like especially because they're so efficient in the early stages and like the last bit is quite compact. The middle
Yeah.
just does kind of suffer in comparison, I think in particular, right?
Yeah, and like the techno babble is like it is like kind of like mechanical filler, right? It's like, oh yeah, no, techno babble, we need this, that, and whatnot. But yeah, no, it's I don't know, like I don't feel like I feel like I've seen the case made for like emotional like sort of like a more democratic like organizational style in like very simplistic terms, but I don't know, I feel like I haven't really seen the object of inquiry examined that hard.
One of the like time flashes should be them sitting down with like a good Kropotkin or something, just like doing some anarchist theory. But yeah, like I think that's the thing is that like it's one of those cases where I think fundamentally the issue is not the structure so much as the unutilized time, right? Like
Well,
it is that those parts that like you could have put in different things here or changed the things you put in to actually connect to the overarching structure.
I I mean the like mechanical structure is a problem actually if you think about it, because like they're very explicitly like we can't change anything yet, right? And then we have to do all the like actual interacting with the crew um like in like very backloaded.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think that's also like it's the sin of being in a franchise, right?
Yeah.
Like, to my understanding, the whole temporal prime directive thing is very well established. So it's
Yeah.
the kind of thing where, like, if you start flouting that, people will notice, especially longtime fans, right?
Yeah, I think it is less that and more that they've just like chosen like a strange framing device for this specific conflict.
Maybe.
Because like
Yeah.
like I like they don't at no point in the past or future like do we even get to see like uh sort of like the organizational structure and action besides like the bracketed start and finish.
Because my other thought too is like, having watched Strange New Worlds in particular,
Hmm.
we have a similar episode, right?
Yeah.
The Elysian Fields that are like, some people are very heavily affected by this, some people aren't, and
Yeah.
that allows us to work with that, like a sort of shrunken crew in a sense.
Hmm.
And so it is a bit odd, as you say, that like they're picking the one sort of mechanism here that just says, "Hey, you can't use the crew for this story about the crew." Right? Like
Yeah.
that's fundamentally odd. Because if you wanted to shrink the crew, I have fundamental belief that you can find another excuse for that in the vastness of Star Trek like shenanigans, right?
Yeah.
Like even if you're just like, oh, it turns out we're teleporting around and like some people
Mm.
have been knocked out and like we have to pull together the crew that remains or like find the ones who
Yeah.
haven't been affected by this neural weapon. That's so doable. So it is a bit strange to pick the one thing where you are locking yourself to a specific thing. Like
Mm.
I'm also thinking in comparison to the Lower Decks episode, which actually I guess it was the Strange New Worlds episode with Lower Decks, where they're also doing time travel shenanigans, right? At that point where they're going like, we shouldn't be doing this, and then they do it anyway
Yeah.
because they're bad at their job. And that's like also like workable, right? Like you could just be like, oh, in desperation we have to
Yeah.
do this, which is kind of what's happening once they get the
Mm.
permission, but it is, as you say, too
Yeah.
backloaded.
Yeah, no, like I think like strangely like a fair amount of like the sort of midsection does also just like get spent on a comedy.
Yeah, yeah, I think
Uh
that's the other part. Like that's what I'm talking about when I say that
yeah.
it's like time is underutilized.
Yeah, no. But also just want to give credit. The very bad inquiry for time travel details, bit by Stamets, also very funny.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. There's a part in there where they're just like, say you were stuck in some sort of time travel issue. How would you do that? And
how would you hypothetically address the situation that I'm not currently in? And
and
he's
like
like, well, you would do this. You're not stuck in a time loop, are you? Ah, just Joshing. Which is just like, it's just like strong basic comedy.
I because I think of that because the like hypothetically thing I think is an overdone joke at this point. Like it's just a very basic format. But I like the fact that like this is to my reading of like a an adventure Star Trek ship. Surely that's not actually all that odd. Like it's not
Yeah.
common, but you're gonna have like this could be that, right?
Yeah.
Like every now and then, I do feel like you have to do the like, is this a shapeshifter or a time traveler? Like you just
Yeah.
have to run the numbers and that to being like, it's leaning shapeshifter on this one.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, no. What do we think about the actual moral of the story?
Ooh, well, being that we've both been in the military, no, I don't know. Like it's strange, I guess, because we've in the past talked about like Star Trek, and it's sort of military-ish origins, right?
Hmm.
Like I'm thinking about something like,
Yeah.
and I apologize, but like what is Starfleet is kind of interrogating something like this, right?
Yeah.
About like the position of Star Trek,
And then
or Star
there's
Fleet.
the balance and terror and respective homage, which like the original episode is just like a very straightforward riff on like submarine combat.
Yeah, yeah. The equality of mercy kind of being about
Yeah.
like what actual approach are we taking this? Because now we're
Yeah.
instead kind of in an age where we don't just want that to be what Starfleet is. We
Mm.
want some degree of compassion and working things out. So I think it is strange, I guess, in a way, but it also feels like fairly well trod territory in my little window into Star Trek. The sort of like
Yeah.
kind of doing the question of like, but what are we?
Well, I think I think the end is sort of gives the game away a little bit, right? Because we are like, yeah, no, so I have been like proven extremely right
Yeah.
by past events. Anyway, obviously it can lead to problems, but it doesn't in our case come out somehow.
Yeah.
We just like really pull it off real good. And like, what are you saying?
Star Trek is a very individualistic show, and I think the individualism is on the crew level, if that makes
Yeah.
sense, you know?
Yeah, no, like we're seeing sort of like the late stage of like like a modern Trek series that is
Yeah.
like extremely in love with its characters.
That's the thing where just I keep coming back to this is like I think this is something this particular kind of show that is like there is a crew, that crew spends essentially all of its time with other members of that crew
Yeah.
and very, very little time with anyone outside of that you end up in a sort of like insular sort of sense here, reinforcing that same thing. And once you're a few seasons in, you can't be like, well, we're in many ways we're like any other Starfleet crew. You kind of have to be like, no, this is unique.
Yeah, this is the best Starfleet crew.
This is the coolest one.
Um which to be clear, the show like goes in on like quite hard. Because they're I think at some point they're like the only ship in Starfleet that's functional. Um
Yeah,
so that is like a part of it.
like it's kind of interesting to me to see it like to this degree, right? Because like it's not like this is a concept that doesn't show up in other media,
Mm,
but it's interesting to me in the sense that like Star Trek is a franchise of these one after another.
mm,
This is the coolest Star Trek crew, followed by
yeah.
this is the coolest Star Trek crew, and you just do that for years upon years, right?
Yeah. I will also flag, like, I have seen like at least parts of the earlier section of this series, and like it's it's quite strange because the bridge crew is less emphasized in Discovery than like in other Star Trek shows. And a lot of like what some of them have going for them is just like a striking character look. Like one of them has like the like eye implant, one of them's like 90% robot,
Yeah.
um and so on and so forth. And like these these characters like do not get very fleshed out like potentially ever, because like the show like generally speaking is like very focused on the protagonist Burnham. And so like it is just like in this sort of strange place where like it's still doing that nevertheless, where it's like, well, obviously like we know and love these people deeply, and it's like, who are they? Like,
Well, they've been on the screen for so long. You must love them.
yeah, I mean, genuinely, that is kind of what's happening. And it's quite strange because they don't receive that much characterization. Maybe it shifts in the later seasons that I've seen like more spottily, but like they don't get much time in like uh the early stuff at all.
Having played both RPGs and been on Tumblr for a long time, I've come to realize that like a character's likability is there's a correlation of 0 to their like development as a person.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just go, look at that background character, and that's the show for some people. You know, it's bizarre, but it happens.
Yeah, no, and like I feel like it has like somehow hit the writers a little bit here too.
Like
Um
it is strange because like I'm thinking about Strange New Worlds, and I do think like for whatever faults that show has, I do feel like the characters are very well established, right? Like
yes,
I
it's a lot more spread out than Discovery.
for sure, but like I feel like I can be like, yeah, I think I can make rough predictions on what these people are like.
Yeah.
And there's there's some stuff that's more surface level and but like still a good amount of like depth, right? Like even someone like Chapel, I'm like, yeah, like there's a surface and there's a
Mm,
depth to these characters, even though she doesn't get
yeah.
like a huge amount of screen time.
But yeah, no, I'll let you form your own view a bit more before, so I don't like fully influence you here. But yeah, no, like I do think they end up just like not making, like, I agree that, like, sort of democratic organizational structures have a fair amount of merit over a very top-down disciplinarian type. And I feel like that argument is really not that well served by going like, yeah, because yeah, trust is one thing, but like there's more going on here.
The corollary to heartbreaking the worst person you just know made a very good point is that someone has made the point you agree with in a very poor way.
Yeah. Well, just not that intensely, really.
Yeah. No, that's the other bit. Like, it is also one of those things where, like, the idea of, like, someone with authority or, like an outsider or something like that coming in and telling our main characters, like, how to behave, how to organize themselves, like, that is a pretty classic plot, right?
Yeah.
You get the, like, disciplinarian who's like, you guys aren't doing it right, you're all lazy and unfocused, you won't get results like this. And everyone's like, no, we love our boys. And the question is here, do we love our boys?
Well,
I mean, it's very bad for me coming in from my perspective.
well, we'll have to find out over the course of the series.
Yeah. Will we love our boys? A question that we have all asked ourselves at some point in our life.
Yeah. But I think that's all I have.
I think that's all I have too. It's always interesting to join a new Star Trek show to be like, okay, what are we working with? On like because I was like, man, this was a pretty intense intro. Just like throwing the like, oh no, it's some the fact that like the time bug thing is just like an accessible black market thing made me go like, okay, need to recalibrate expectations on like groundedness levels and such for a bit. It's not that like big things don't happen in Strange New Worlds, but like I feel like they emphasize the strange part a bit more. That like this is unusual.
Yeah.
Here's the ones like being jumped through time. Yeah, happened to me in Bangkok once. Like I'm like, okay, well, noting that for the future.
But yeah, with your expectations sufficiently jumbled, we only have it left to thank our listeners for listening.
That's right. Thank you. Nice one. Good job. We're doing ASMR now. You did a good job listening. I'm proud of you.
And farewell.
And see you on the other side.
Cheers.